Whereas when you write your average business application, most of the time you spend waiting for IO on something. So yeah, I don't really use a lot of benchmarking. But I remember, I think a couple of years ago maybe, that Benoit did some improvement on the, but I thought that it was actually to do things like this. So now I'm not sure exactly what sort of improvement he made to the benchmarking library.
I've checked before starting, so.
Okay, so what was it?
Don't remember, just my conclusion was.
So that was not good enough?
No, I didn't say that. It just, I think it resolved a specific case, especially that it can apply its solution to different kind of VM, even for GRUB and so on.
Right, okay.
So you can compare between them.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think it resolves something different.
Okay. So it was more was working at a technical VM level rather than really statistical.
Yeah, it's like because there are another one which is the number of iterations per second, the IPS benchmark, and it's a better it's a better measure, but still it's not about. It's not because the iteration per second is better that necessarily it's the case. So again, it's because I saw a lot of people, even for Rails, using benchmark to argue why that solution is better than another one, and it's like, no, you cannot do that. So that's I would like. That's why I wanted to make the presentation, to the opportunity to see if a lot of people do benchmark or not.
I'd love to, for instance, for JSON APIs, for generating the JSON. But as you said, it requires a lot of seeds, and this is really annoying. It would worth it, but generating the seeds is really pain.
Okay.
I could share something quickly related, and I don't think a lot of people actually know it. Do you know about the mini-tests performance benchmarking features? I'll just throw them out because it's kind of new, and I don't think that maybe I just share with you. It's not for, it's for, and I think that's a very relevant part for me. Just to quickly share it.
That's the point.
And actually, that's what I do think is relevant, and actually had cases where for me that this is really interesting. So basically, the problem is that we have a large code base and we have lots of business logic, and from time to time there's like some algorithm part just gets in. People develop on it, but then they go off, and at some point they start changing the code, and suddenly the thing is dramatically slower. And they didn't understand that they were actually changing the time complexity of the algorithm. And what Minitest actually has, and that's for me really interesting, it's kind of, okay, I need to go like that. And that's for me an interesting addition to testing. It basically allows you to make assertions about the linearity, the time complexity of an algorithm. So basically what you're doing here, test constant time method performance, is basically saying a certain method has to have the time complexity of constant, and basically this gives you the error of the margin. So basically you can say it has to be constant within a margin of 10%, and then you put 0.9. And basically in the framework you have assertions for constant time, linear time, exponential time, but they're just there. So performance constant, exponential, linear, power. So the typicals are there. So I think it kind of is important to add it, because if I would say one thing, it's really interesting to put those in your test benchmark. And I don't care about micro benchmarking, to be honest. I really don't care, but I do care about this.
Yeah.
And if somebody breaks this is really key for me.
Because the preference is
because if you assume, if at some point you have linear time complexity and people are working with small, typically the problem is people are working with small data sets and they change it to exponential, they won't notice. This test will fail. This is
Also, very often they don't even realize the complexity because the complexity is hidden behind the wrong choice of data structure.
Could you click on the class method that starts with I suck and my tests are?
That's just if you want to.
Yeah, I don't know.
There was a real drama about this one.
If you want to, your test should work in random order, and if you really want them to work in a specific order, you can say, well, you can do it, but then you get past this.
But they removed it.
Yes.
I think there was a long discussion in GitHub where there was this commit. I think
It seems to be from 193, so probably into it.
but no, I think Rails had a similar thing,
Okay.
and then some people complained and say that no one sucks, you know, everyone is good, and so we shouldn't have this as a method name. So now they changed that.
And so my addition would be, if you want to work on that, it kind of almost needs to go together because
It just you know, some project I've just started and want to share and get some feedback on it.
minute tests, performance assertions,
Okay.
for me are
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for me. There are no other questions. So, Benjamin. So yeah, just if you need just to take something from the don't use average. Please. Each time there's a kitten, I skip. Oh.
Okay, so I have an idea of an example, but I wanted to have some basic CSS and I'm so late. I would just wanted 2 columns, but I'm very terrible, so let's keep that. Boring. So let's say I want, it begins to be an Angular course. Anyway, I have a form. And I want to add n items, so with add button, and that's it. Do you want something more? Let's start with that. Okay, so it's in the clunker, so it's completely raw. So I'm going to have a form, no action, thank you, and I'm going to create UL, then li, and as I told you before, it's data driven, so I'm going to loop through a collection, so item in items, and I'm just going to add here something like an input, should just an ng. Yeah, I'm just wondering how I can write this. What's one item name? Okay. So I want a button 2, and it would be add item, and I want on click to actually add an item. So I need an items collection, and I need an add item function. So here we go. So to scope, I say items is an empty array, and to the scope, I'm going to assign a function, which will only whose only purpose would be to scope items push, and I'm going to push new objects. So if I now add items, it's pretty straightforward. Let's do it a different way. Basically, something very useful to remind when you use JavaScript and then Angular is that you have to work with objects. So I'm going to use an object here. It will be an order. It will be a blank object. and it will contain the items collection. Then scope. I'm going to assign the order to scope. Scope.order equals order. So I have to change here order.items and just reverse the order here. And I'd like to have a look at what data is actually in my JSON. So I'm going to order JSON. Okay, so currently it's raw, it's an empty array. I have broken something.
You forgot order in the function.
Oh, thank you. And so it's good. So it's order that item to push. Okay, and here we can. So you see how easy it is with Angular to just create a collection of stuff and have its JSON automatically created. So that's a cool example. I don't know how I would have done it with jQuery actually. But as you see, we are fully leveraging the main goal of Angular, which is I have data and I want to interact with it in the DOM. And everything is data driven. Then you could, so for completeness sake, let's say I want to remove this item, so ng-click and we remove item. I'm just going to put the item here. Remove. It would be cool to have something great library, JavaScript library. So let's include underscore. Come on. Okay. So now I'm going to add a new function to the scope here. It will be remove item, and it will be a function which receives an item. And I want to be lazy here. I'm sorry. Or actually no, it should be simple. So var index equals underscore dot. What's the function to get the index of this?
Just pass the index from the view, it's easier.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, we
You
completely
can always do
right.
it like this. So just
Yeah, you're completely right. Index. So yeah, actually, just need the index. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I wanted to show you that you can pass the item directly, but you can leverage the dollar index, which is created by the ng repeat here. And so, I always create some nice method to work with, but actually it's even in Nodash, it's already here, but yeah, it's splice.
Order.splice, comma index, comma 1, comma 0.
Index 1, I think that's it.
There are 3 parameters.
Yeah, index 1.
No, okay.
It should be good. Hopefully. Yeah. No.
I don't really know this Angular, but don't you need to assign it to order?
It's order.items. Obviously. And if you move. So yeah, it's very convenient. So as I told you, it's fully data driven. So even with some data, so you want to be sure that you are removing the proper one. So that's an illustration of how Angular can make your life easier in such kind of situations. If you want to see something else, let me know.
I was wondering what was your experience regarding the learning curve of Angular, because all this stuff is very, very, very easy to get started and do this two-way binding stuff, and it sort of works like magic. But in my experience, as soon as you start to, you need to do something just a bit more advanced, even some basic validation or stuff like that, or you quickly need to it's either you don't need to learn anything or you need to learn everything. You know what I mean? That the learning curve is like a wall. There's no, I don't know, that's the feeling I had, is that as soon as you want to understand what's going on, okay, here's the document and it's 10 pages, or maybe I'm just too lazy, but it felt to me like there was really no learning curve. It was just becoming way too complex, way too quick.
I agree. Sometimes you're just facing situations where you just don't know yet how to do it properly. I fully agree. Entering the Angular philosophy is quite a hassle at the beginning, because we are all accustomed to DIY with selectors. You told me a few examples you had where you had issues. I could suggest a great solution if you want. Yes, it's sometimes difficult to have your answer, because the way. Yeah.
Did anyone park outside there? No. Okay. There is a police guy, right?
Yeah, and most of the time, it's because you just don't know how Angular could do it in a clean way, and I agree, if you don't have anyone to advise you, you can lose much time. I agree. I thought too.
Okay, thank you very much. That will close, now we close the BRUG. So thanks for dinner, and well, that's it.
Let's eat.
Donc, tu vas pu avoir une directive mère pour récupérer toutes tes erreurs.